You wake up every morning, brush your teeth, shower, get dressed. Your heart beats at the correct rhythm. Your lungs fill and empty with air. Your muscles respond to your brain's commands. You walk through the house, prepare coffee, check your phone. Everything works perfectly in the machinery of your body, like a well-calibrated machine that never fails in its basic purposes. But there's something there, in the center of your chest, that seems disconnected from the rest. A strange sensation that a fundamental part of who you are simply stopped working, as if a vital wire had been cut during the night and you woke up functioning at only half capacity. It's as if your soul had developed an invisible fracture that no one can see, but that you feel with every breath. You smile when you need to smile, speak when you need to speak, but there's a distance between you and your own gestures, as if you were watching your life through fogged glass. Franz Kafka knew this sensation intimately, of functioning without really being alive, of being a perfect machine inhabited by a lost ghost. If you've made it this far, it's because this sensation isn't strange to you, because you too have awakened feeling that something essential inside you simply isn't there anymore. This channel exists exactly for those people who function on the outside, but feel that something fundamental broke on the inside. Here you'll find not just understanding, but real paths to reconnect with that part of you that seems lost. Subscribe now and hit the bell to become part of a community that understands exactly what you're going through. Also leave your like on this video, because each like helps us bring this message to more people who need to hear that they're not alone in this experience. You don't need to carry this alone. The modern human condition places us in a peculiar situation where we are simultaneously more connected and more isolated than any previous generation. We live in an age where our bodies are efficient machines. Our smartphones connect us instantly with anyone on the planet. Our cars quickly take us from one place to another, and yet we experience an existential emptiness that seems to grow proportionally to our technological development. Kafka anticipated this contradiction when he wrote about characters who functioned perfectly within the bureaucratic systems of his time, but who gradually lost contact with their essential humanity. The employee who wakes up transformed into an insect still needs to go to work, still needs to fulfill his obligations, still needs to function within the social structure, but something fundamental in his nature has been irreversibly altered. This Kafkaesque transformation happens to us in a much more subtle and gradual way. We don't wake up one day completely different, but we realize that pieces of ourselves have been lost along the way. First, it's just a slight sensation of disconnection during a conversation with friends. You're there, you participate, you laugh at the jokes, but there's a part of you observing everything from outside, as if you were an actor, playing the role of yourself. Then comes the sensation during work, when you execute your tasks competently, but feel you're just following automatic movements, as if your hands knew what to do, but your mind was elsewhere. Gradually, this dissociation spreads to other areas of life, until you realize you're functioning entirely on autopilot, a body without soul, navigating through routines that have completely lost meaning. What makes this condition particularly distressing is that from the outside, everything seems normal. You continue fulfilling your commitments, maintain your relationships, pay your bills, take care of your responsibilities. The people around you don't notice that something has changed because you've learned to function even with an essential part of you disconnected. It's like having an emotional phantom limb, an absence you feel constantly, but that no one else can see. You develop a haunted competence in living with only part of yourself, adapting to this internal deficiency in ways you can't always fully understand. The sensation of being broken inside while functioning perfectly outside creates a deep existential loneliness. You feel like an imposter in your own life, playing the role of someone you used to be but can no longer locate within yourself. It's as if you were a museum of yourself, carefully preserving the external forms of who you were, but the essence that gave life to those forms simply evaporated. You know all your gestures, your expressions, your habitual reactions, but they've lost their organic connection to a vital center that once animated them naturally. And have you ever woken up feeling that an essential part of who you are simply wasn't there anymore? Have you ever felt you're functioning at only half capacity, as if something vital had disconnected during the night, and you had to learn to live with this absence? If you're going through this experience now, leave in the comments, "I function, but something in me broke." Your courage in recognizing this might be exactly what another person needs to hear today to feel less alone in this journey. Each comment here creates a network of mutual understanding that reminds us that this experience, however isolating it may seem, is shared by many of us. Kafka understood that this condition wasn't a personal failure, but a symptom of being alive in an age when social systems have become so complex and abstract that we lose contact with our most fundamental nature. His characters aren't victims of their own inadequacies, but of structures that demand we function like machines while denying our essential need for meaning and authentic connection. The man who transforms into an insect doesn't choose this metamorphosis. It simply happens as a result of living in a reality that gradually dehumanizes those who inhabit it. This dehumanization happens in very specific ways in contemporary life. We spend hours daily looking at screens, interacting with digital versions of real people, consuming fragmented information that never connects into a coherent narrative about who we are or where we're going. Our work frequently places us in positions where we execute tasks that have little or no personal meaning, where we're evaluated by metrics that capture nothing about our real humanity. Our relationships increasingly happen through technological mediations that filter the complexity and unpredictability of genuine human contact. Gradually, we begin to internalize these patterns of mechanical functioning. We learn to relate to ourselves as if we were systems that need to be optimized, problems that need to be solved, projects that need to be managed. We lose contact with the simple experience of simply being without agenda, without objective, without the need to produce or perform something specific. This loss is particularly painful because it's a loss of intimacy with ourselves, a growing inability to simply inhabit our own experience without constant judgment or analysis. The sensation of being broken inside frequently comes accompanied by hypervigilance about our own functioning. We begin to monitor ourselves constantly, checking if we're feeling the correct emotions, if we're reacting appropriately, if we're being productive enough. This constant self-monitoring creates an additional layer of separation between us and our direct experience, as if we were constantly watching ourselves live instead of simply living. What Kafka teaches us is that this condition, though painful, can be a starting point for a deeper understanding about what it means to be human in an inhuman age. The sensation of being broken can be a signal that there still exists in us something that refuses to adapt completely to conditions that deny our most essential nature. It's as if the part of us that breaks is also the part that preserves our humanity, that refuses to function merely as a gear in a larger machine. The Kafkaesque transformation isn't necessarily permanent. It can be understood as a stage in a longer journey of self-discovery, a necessary period of disintegration that precedes a more authentic reintegration. When we recognize that we're functioning at only half capacity, we create the possibility of questioning which parts of our current functioning actually serve our deeper nature, and which are merely adaptations to circumstances that don't honor who we really are. The process of reconnecting with the parts of us that seem to have been lost doesn't happen through effort or willpower, but through a particular quality of attention and patience. It's like caring for a plant that's stopped flowering, not forcing new flowers to appear, but creating adequate conditions for natural vitality to express itself again. This might mean gradually reducing our exposure to stimuli that disconnect us from ourselves, creating regular moments of silence and solitude, seeking activities that connect us with our body and our senses in more direct ways. The existential loneliness that accompanies this sensation of being broken can be transformed into creative solitude. Instead of trying to escape the experience of disconnection, we can learn to inhabit it with curiosity and compassion, using it as a laboratory to explore deeper layers of ourselves that we might not have accessed when everything seemed to be functioning normally. It's as if the break created openings through which we can see aspects of our nature that were previously hidden by the efficiency of our habitual functioning. Many spiritual traditions recognize periods of disintegration as natural and necessary parts of human development. The sensation of being broken can be understood as a kind of symbolic death, a necessary end to a version of ourselves that has become inadequate for who we're becoming. This death isn't a failure, but a transformation, even though it can be profoundly disorienting and painful while it's happening. What makes the Kafkaesque experience particularly relevant to our historical moment is that it doesn't offer easy or comforting solutions. Kafka doesn't suggest that we can simply choose to exit this condition through positive thinking or self-help techniques. Instead, he invites us to explore deeply the texture of this experience, to understand its nuances and complexities, to develop a more intimate relationship with our own existential suffering. This intimacy with our own broken condition can be paradoxically healing. When we stop fighting against the sensation of disconnection and begin to explore it with genuine curiosity, we frequently discover that it contains valuable information about who we really are and what we really need. The part of us that refuses to function normally might be trying to communicate something important about the direction our life needs to take. Reconnection with our essential vitality frequently happens through small moments of recognition and presence. It might be a moment during a walk when we suddenly feel our feet touching the ground, or an instant during a conversation when we really hear what the other person is saying, or a second looking at the sky when we realize we're actually seeing instead of just processing visual information. These moments of genuine presence are like small openings through which our natural vitality can begin to express itself again. The path back to ourselves isn't linear or predictable. It can involve periods of greater connection interspersed with periods of even deeper disconnection. It's important to develop patience with this process, recognizing that healing from the Kafkaesque condition doesn't happen through force or determination, but through a particular quality of attention and acceptance that allows our deeper nature to reveal itself gradually. The sensation of functioning at only half capacity can be understood as an invitation to question not just how we're living, but why we're living the way we're living. It can be an opportunity to examine which aspects of our current life actually serve our most authentic nature, and which are merely habits we develop to adapt to circumstances that may not be adequate for who we really are. When we begin to understand our broken condition as information instead of pathology, we open the possibility of using this experience as a portal to a more authentic and vitally connected way of life. The part of us that breaks might be exactly the part that refuses to accept a diminished existence, that insists on our capacity for a fuller and more meaningful life. The journey of reconnection with our essential vitality is simultaneously deeply personal and universally shared. Each person who goes through this experience of disintegration and reintegration contributes to a deeper collective understanding about what it means to be human in an age that frequently denies our most fundamental humanity. Your experience of being broken and your journey toward wholeness aren't just personal, they're contributions to the evolution of human consciousness.